Hello and welcome into another episode of the Couch GMs Podcast. It is Thursday, June 1st, and this is the 100 and nice episode of the Couch GMs Podcast. George cannot be with us tonight, but I'm joined with Tyler Snyder. Tyler, how are you doing? That background, though, looks like George's.
Yeah, I am currently dog sitting for George right now, so ignore all the gross eagle stuff behind me. It is I'm just overtaking his location.
Are you becoming an Eagles fan?
Absolutely not. Not even close. Less and less by the day.
Less and less by the day. All right, we'll let it slide this time since you're doing George a solid watching his doggos, and we'll let the Eagles gear slide. On today's episode, we are going to be talking some of the most recent NFL news and notes, and we are going to be joining a best ball league because we just miss fantasy football so much, and that's the kind of fantasy you can get into right now. Still have a little bit of fun with it. As always, make sure you join the discussion on Discord or follow us on social media at the Couch GMs. Tyler, let's sit back, relax, and chat. Alrighty, so as you know, we are in kind of the NFL long season. OTAs and stuff are going on. You're getting a little bits of news here and there, but unfortunately, until training camp, not a lot of news to talk about. But there was some big things since we last talked to you guys. The first one, the NFL draft for 2025 was announced. In 2024, it will be in Detroit. 2025, it stays in the NFC North and is headed to Green Bay. I know this has gotten some mixed reviews. Obviously, I'm the homer, the Packers fan. I love it. Tyler, what are your thoughts on Green Bay getting such a large NFL event?
I mean, look, Green Bay is an NFL city. They definitely have the backing of their team. They definitely have football pride on their side. Um, I think a lot of teams are underrepresented in the NFL. So I don't really have any issues with anybody hosting the NFL draft. I mean, even Detroit, like Detroit's not exactly the best city to be in, if you watch the news, but the city still deserves a draft. They still deserve to get some recognition. So I don't really care where the draft goes. It's good for that city.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, you're also a fan of a small market team in the Tennessee Titans, and you could argue that Nashville has been the best host city since they started changing it on a yearly basis. So getting these cities that are too small to host a Super Bowl, the draft is probably the next in line. So looking forward to seeing that in Green Bay. I've already had people reach out to me and be like, "Hey, are we going to the draft?" So if you're going to be there, let us know. Hopefully, I'll see you there in 2025. But that's a little whiles away. So let's talk about stuff that's happening right now, and that was DeAndre Hopkins was released for the Arizona Cardinals. Some people are saying he's washed. Some people saying no brainer going to the Chiefs. Some people think Buffalo Bills. Patriots are a sneaky underdog. Tyler, what are your thoughts on one, the release, and two, where you think DeAndre Hopkins may end up?
I don't think the release shocks me. I kind of expected this. I'm a little surprised that nobody was willing to trade for D Hop. I mean, look, if somebody was willing to give you a seventh round pick next year, it's still more value than just straight up cutting him. So I'm surprised they weren't able to get anything. I think he is getting older, and that contract was insane for his age. I don't think he's the same player he used to be when he was in Houston, but I still think he's a super talented receiver. He's a game changer no matter where he goes. So I think he definitely deserved something more than just being cut. Um, but maybe it's the best thing for him. At least now he can choose where he wants to go. He doesn't have to just, you know, go wherever the team decides he goes. As far as where do I think he goes, I think where I want him to go and where I think he goes is two different questions. Obviously, on a wide receiver needy Titans, I would love to see them bring in D Hop. Um, but where do I think he goes? The Chiefs just sounds right. Been watching the NFL for too many years, watching every time somebody good hits the free agent market, uh, they go to whoever the best team is. So I could see the Chiefs getting them. I would prefer the Bills though between the two because at least the Bills have not won a Super Bowl. So bring in the talent, get them there first.
I got you. I got you there. Let's talk. We're going to do a best ball draft in a little bit. So Chiefs seem like I don't know what the odds are by into the draft makers, but seems like the favorite. But in terms of fantasy football, I feel like the Chiefs, as a fantasy player, wouldn't be the destination because they have Kelsey, they have the young guys, Tony, Sky Moore, the Rashee Rice, the guy they just drafted in the third round. So they have a lot of pieces. Where a team like the Bills, yes, they have Stephon Diggs, but Hopkins could go in and be the number two. And I think even the New England Patriots, with him being the number one, could be a more enticing option, at least for fantasy.
For fantasy purposes, I think his best bet is the Chiefs. I would hope that he goes there because I mean you have Patrick Mahomes and you have less talent around him to kind of steal the thunder. I mean the Chiefs showed that they can still be a dominant offense with basically just Travis Kelsey as the only target because even Juju Smith-Schuster didn't really get involved that much. So if they add a weapon like Hopkins, at least there's not so many mouths to feed, but at least they are still a dominant offense no matter what. Meanwhile, the Bills, I feel like, you know, they're trying to make more of a push for a run game. They just drafted a high end tight end. They have Stephon Diggs. They have Gabriel Davis. Like they have pieces. There's too many mouths to feed. I feel like Hopkins won't get utilized quite as heavily. Um, as far as like Ravens, Patriots, like I think his value is just out on those guys. Not out, but I would definitely not draft him nearly as high.
Yeah, probably the Ravens because they brought in so many other guys this year. But then Patriots for sure with the quarterback questions. Will it be Mac Jones? Will it be Zappy? We'll have to wait and see. Um, but since we're already talking fantasy, let's get ready to jump in to our best ball draft. Alrighty, so just so everyone knows, we are doing a best ball draft. You might be asking what that is. So we're actually in a live draft lobby. Tyler is drafting eighth. I am drafting ninth. Fortunately, they put us back to back. So, but it should give us something to talk about. I think it's a Couch GMs first that we're actually doing a live draft and not a mock draft. So that should be pretty interesting to see how this plays out. But before we get started, do you have any tips or thoughts or ways to approach best ball?
Well, Cody, you said in case you're wondering what a best ball draft is, and then went off on a tangent not explaining what a best ball draft is. So why don't you tell the
Sounds
people
about
at
right.
home that do not know what it is, what best ball actually is?
All right. So best ball is, drafting is probably one of the most fun parts, if not the best part about playing fantasy football. Want a best ball league? That's all you have to do. You draft a team, and then your team is forget it. It gives you the ultimate lineup each week. It gives you the most points, and basically you play in a league that whoever has the most points at the end of the season uh, is the winner. So you might be asking, why are you drafting so early? Because we can. It doesn't matter too much. Best ball is a little bit different to your redrafts. You normally see quarterbacks go a little bit higher because you want to get multiple because there's no waivers, there's no trading. The team you draft is the team you get. So you'll see a lot of late round flyers that probably go undrafted in redrafts. So we'll talk about later in the summer. So it's just a fun way. It's a more of a newer way to play fantasy. It's been around for a couple years now, but not as common as the uh, redrafts that we talked about a lot, dynasty leagues, those kind of things. And oftentimes, this one we're not doing is for free, but oftentimes there is a little bit of money involved. You throw $5 in, the best team wins $50, those kind of things. It's also a fun way to gamble if that's what you're into.
So now you asked me about any tips, tricks, advice, stuff like that. So I would say that some tips is one, look at your depth. Like Cody was saying earlier, in a redraft league, you might have one quarterback or two. You might be like, I have Patrick Mahomes. I don't need a backup quarterback. In best ball, you need a backup quarterback. Maybe even go three, depending on how deep the bench is, because you are getting the best quarterback each week, but you're also getting that quarterback insurance. There is no waivers. There is no free agency. There is no trades. If you draft Patrick Mahomes and, you know, by bad luck, he ends up going down in week 2 and you didn't take a backup quarterback, well, guess what? You're submitting a lineup without a quarterback in it for the rest of the season and you lost. So you want to have some depth. And that goes for every position. You want to make sure that you have it in there. This is the kind of league that you would draft a backup kicker, that you would draft a backup defense, that you would try to get those points in there as well because of bye weeks, because of injuries. Um, but basically, just making sure that you have good depth all around. Um, but also, best ball is, like Cody said, it's just drafting. So have some fun with it. I mean, this is your chance to take some players that you might not take in your redraft league. So at least you still have somebody else to watch on Sunday. If you're a person that only plays in one or two leagues, redraft wise, and you're like, well, I always have these guys, these running backs, take somebody else. Take somebody completely different so you have more people to watch, more people to root for. It makes it so that really no matter who succeeds, you still win.
Yeah, and I think on those points too, if you suffer from fantasy burnout or you're like, how can I manage 5 leagues? Well, you can play as many best ball leagues as you want because once you draft, it's over until the results at the end of the season. So it allows you to do the drafting you love without having to make that commitment to manage so uh, many teams all season long. And we're just about a minute away from our draft kicking off. But before we get into the draft, I just want to let you know the rosters that we're playing with. Um, they're the starting lineup. Now, remember, it's the best lineup each week, but the starting lineup is one quarterback, three wide receivers, two running backs, a tight end, and a flex spot of wide receiver, running back, tight end, and then I believe 9 bench spots. So it's a 17 team draft. So best balls, the rosters are bigger mainly because there's no waivers. These are the guys you're stuck with. You'll see guys in the later rounds go that might be like a third string wide receiver on a high experience team. Like, Sky Moore might be a big target. And that's a kind of guy that, he might be deeper in the depth chart, especially if they go out and sign DeAndre Hopkins, but could be a big winner later in the season if he was drafted high last year. So he could be a potential that he's a breakout candidate.
All right. So let's go ahead and
The first team is on the clock, and they took Justin Jefferson, wide receiver one. So next guy
Jamar
went Jamar
Chase number
Chase.
two.
Yep. So we're already moving. Christian McCaffrey 3, Travis Kelsey 4. I'm up in 4 picks. See,
I'm
so
up.
you can see very similar to redrafts, like the top elite guys still go 1-2. So this is also a good way to judge how you would draft in a redraft league, at least the first round, kind of how those players would go. Saquon Barkley, followed by Jonathan Taylor, is up.
Cody, are you as surprised as I am to see Bijan Robinson this highly ranked? He was ranked sixth overall.
He was ranked 6th overall. He is available here with you at 8th, going Austin Eckler. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people really high on him, but being that it's not a dynasty league, I think there would be some other options. I mean, the Falcons had a good rushing attack last year with Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson. So if you're betting on that, but still, 6th overall seems really high for Bijan Robinson. But I think you only have. Oh, I'm up. I didn't. You didn't get to tell me
You're
when you
up.
make your pick.
10 seconds left. Well, you were talking through my pick, so I didn't want to talk over
Uh,
you. So for my pick, I could have taken Bijan Robinson, but instead I decided to go with Nick Chubb. So I think Nick Chubb is a guy that falls like early second round or end of the first round every year. And every year, the guy who has Nick Chubb ends up dominating. People are like, man, I guess I should have taken him. And then we all make the same mistake the next year. Plus, another thing to note is Kareem Hunt is not there anymore. So anybody who is afraid of Nick Chubb because Kareem Hunt likes to steal touchdowns, not anymore. So Cody, who did you take?
So I went Cooper Cup, banking on a high upside big rebound after his injury riddled season. Um, I am back on the clock after Bijan Robinson went.
Two of your
Uh,
favorites on the board.
2 of my favorites are on the board here, but I have to go. Um, it is best ball, so I'm going to get a running back, and I'm going to take Tony Pollard. It would be higher than I would take him in a redraft, but because it's 12 teams, I want to get him in. He has the potential to break out with no Zeke still there. Yeah, they did draft guys in the later rounds, mid rounds of the draft, but Tony Pollard, I think, could be a really good pick.
So I am now on the board, and Derrick Henry is available, but I am not going to take him because there is three wide receiver spots and a flex spot. So I'm actually going to go with my top wide receiver as Stephon Diggs to pair with Nick Chubb as my first two picks.
Not bad at all. All right, so then Josh Jacobs went next. Just to give you guys kind of where we're at in terms of players, CeeDee Lamb is the top player on the board, followed by Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Brees Hall, which Robert Saleh did come out today and say that, or I guess the day we're recording this, that they have think that he might be ready week one, which would be huge for him coming off the ACL. That's another guy, Travis Etienne and AJ Brown kind of round out those pick, and CD Lamb did just go off the board.
And for anybody out there that's like, man, my drafts usually last an hour or 2 hours. Like, I don't know if I want to sit there and listen to an entire draft. Like, I just want you to know we only have 30 seconds per pick. So this draft is flying. We are almost completely done with round two. We only have one more pick left in round two. So we are flying along here. We'll try to keep you guys updated. Last few picks, we did have CeeDee Lamb taken, followed by Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and now, like Cody was talking about, Brees Hall is the last pick of round two. So we are on to the first pick of round three. A lot of good players still out there. I mean, honestly, especially in best ball, you just don't know. And the best ball is nice because in redraft you might want to get somebody who's more consistent. You might take the guy who gets 15 points every single week over the guy who gets 30 one week and 2 the next. But in best ball, it sets the lineup for you, so you can take that guy who has his boomer bust weeks and just cash
Yeah,
in on the weeks.
and there's some guys. The first quarterback did just go off the
Boom.
board in the middle of the third round, and Josh Allen. But like Amon St. Brown, who just also unfortunately went, and Ramondre Stevenson, who went. Those are the two guys I was going to talk about. Patrick Mahomes has now gone. So, like Tyler said, only 30 seconds, but the players we were with are not messing around. So we're flying through this. Um, Jalen Waddle went, and now Tyler, you are next if you want to talk through your picks.
Yeah, so I'm debating between. I really don't want to go with Kenneth Walker here. I think it's a little too high. So I'm debating between T. Higgins and Chris Olave. Um, I like Olave after what he did last year, and I think he's going to have a big second year. But I'm going to go with the guy whose quarterback I like better. So I'm going T. Higgins.
Not bad at all. I'm going to go for me, I'm right on the clock here. Only 30 seconds to talk about it. Uh, I'm with you. I'm not feeling Ken Walker, especially when they drafted. Oh man, the guy is. I'll think about it after I make my pick. But I'm gonna go Jalen Hurts here. Take the quarterback. Get a quarterback early. Not something I typically do, but I want to get some high point potential for my best ball team. And then the dude out of UCLA is the guy that was drafted in Seattle. His name is blanking me, but could steal some targets from Kenneth Walker. So something definitely to keep an eye on as we progress closer to the season. Alrighty. And I am back on the clock here. And kind of like I'm going to go completely different from a redraft league. And I'm going to take Mark Andrews. So I went quarterback, tight end early, which you never do in a redraft league. I mean, you never do. And I'm still going to take other quarterbacks and other tight ends later, but I wanted to try to get guys that could potentially be number one at their position come the end of the season.
All right. So with my pick on the clock, um, look, I like Mark Andrews a lot. TJ Hawkinson was ranked right with Mark Andrews right there, but I just feel like it's a little bit too high for TJ Hawkinson. Um, so I actually went with a pick that I probably normally wouldn't do in a redraft, and I went Aaron Jones. Green Bay Packers are going to be struggling. I think this year, I don't think they have the same talent that you've seen before. They also have Jordan Love taking over, so they're going to have to lean on the veterans on the team rather than looking for the flash in the pan. So I'm going to say that Aaron Jones is going to have a pretty good year. Obviously, he's still splitting carries, so he's going to have his games that are down, but he's going to have plenty of games where I think he has 3 touchdowns in a game, and those are the games that I'm going to be glad that he's thrown into my lineup. Like I said, best ball, so you can take those guys that have the big boom weeks with the bust weeks.
Yeah, because the weeks they're bad, hopefully someone in your bench scored more points so that you have a better line that week. I was thinking Aaron Jones right there too, but I decided to go Mark Andrews. After Aaron Jones went Devonta Smith, followed by Miles Sanders, TJ Hawkinson, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, JK Dobbins, and Lamar Jackson. And just like that, we are through 40 picks already. So we are getting ready to start the fifth round. This draft is flying. It's one of the nice things about these best ball leagues that are moving. There's not as much pressure to make sure you get the right pick. You get to have a little bit more fun with it, like we've been talking about. Debo Samuel was the first pick of the fifth round. Tyler, you're coming up here with a pick soon. What are some of the guys you're looking at or hoping that might fall to you?
I will be fully honest with you. The guy that I'm hoping falls to me, and he should because of how far down he is on the board, and I am going to reach, is Justin Fields. And it's because quarterbacks are flying off the board right now, and mobile quarterbacks are a cheat code in fantasy. We saw what Justin Fields did last year uh, with really no throwing ability, with just his legs. He still put up plenty of points and was winning people games left and right. So now you have the Bears really trying to build around Justin Fields and give him some weapons. I feel like he's going to take a step forward. I think he's going to be a great fantasy quarterback this year. I didn't say great quarterback, great fantasy quarterback this year. So he did fall to me, and I did take Justin Fields.
Not a bad pick at all. And for me, I'm going to take a guy that was a little bit down there too, but I want to get him, and that is Calvin Ridley, wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A guy that could be, we saw what Christian Kirk did. We saw what uh, Evan Ingram did. But now this is a guy that went out for former top guy, and he's not coming off a major injury. He's coming off of betting a few games. Not saying that's not a serious thing, but it's not health related. He could jump right in, be the number one guy in Jacksonville. So I like getting him here in the end of the fifth round. And just like that, I'm back on the clock after George Kittle and Tyler Lockett went right after me. And I am now back at the top of the sixth round. Um, DJ Moore's here is available. If you like Justin Fields, he might not be a bad option. Joe Mixon is still here. Now, there are a lot of question marks around him. I mean, there's a lot of guys here. This is like the oops, I totally auto because I forgot we only had 30 seconds. I got DeAndre Hopkins, so hopefully he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs as I was talking about, guys. But DeAndre Hopkins it is.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love a lot of the picks here. So I'm just going to go with that quarterback wide receiver stack. I'm going to take DJ Moore. Just hoping that they have a couple good games where it's like, wow, DJ Moore catches 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns from Justin Fields, and they both go off, and that's a gimme week because I had both of them. So that's what I'm hoping for there. Other guys going right about now. So Terry McLaurin just got drafted. Other guys on the board: Drake London, uh, like Cody said, Joe Mixon, Chris Godwin. I'm not thrilled with these guys. London, I need to see more from Atlanta before I start trusting their weapons. And Chris Godwin, he lost Tom Brady. I don't see Baker Mayfield stepping in there and lighting the world on fire. So I'm kind of hesitant on Godwin. I still really like him as a player. I'm just not thrilled with their offense right now. So kind of taking a step back on these receivers. If I did not get DJ Moore, I probably would have went Dallas Goddard here. I would have just went with the tight end pick. He's a solid tight end for a good team. He just got drafted right now, so he's not going to fall to my next pick. But I think that's probably the second best pick on the board at that time. And if I didn't have Justin Fields, I probably would have went Goddard as well.
Yeah, I do like you getting the stack there. Just to recap, after I went DJ Moore, it was Terry McLaurin, Joe Mixon, Drake London, Christian Watson, Alvin Kamara, Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goddard to round out the first 6 rounds. So we are flying. Michael Pittman is next off the board at pick 61. I know I've now gotten smart enough to queue players in this that I would take if I start talking on my pick too long because I do not want other auto pick. That is definitely an embarrassing move. Tyler's going to roast me about that for the next couple days, I'm sure. Still some good players available. Still some guys that you might want to, but this is also the time too where you can start taking some flyers on. Maybe not go with the guys that you expect out of like a James Conner out of Arizona, but go for a DeAndre Swift in Philadelphia or Brian Robinson in Washington. Guy have a little bit more high upside and take a little bit more risk. And you're up in 2 picks or 1 pick. You're on the clock.
And 2 picks. Well, see, it flies so quick. I don't really have a chance to really think about it. So again, I'm going to reach. It's what I do. I am the hot takes guy, so I'm actually going to handcuff my running backs just in case Aaron Jones is not always the best running back on that team. I'm going to get AJ Dillon.
Not a bad option. I was going running back as well since I'm not on the clock. I'm going to take running back Ben Robinson. Not expecting a ton out of the Commanders this year, but expecting him to be the number one guy. So I'll take the high upside opportunity with Brian Robinson there with 1 pick left in the 7th round. Still a decent amount of players left. Some guys we're thinking about. Jerry Judy went next as the guy double ups as I prepare to be back on the clock. Um, and honestly,
Dak Prescott always goes so late, but he can be a really
that was
good quarterback.
that was going to be the guy I was going to take. I was literally just going to say Dak Prescott was going to be the guy I would have taken. But instead, I'm going to take another running back here in Khalil Herbert, another guy. This is another potential guy that could be the starter with high upside. So I'll take Khalil Herbert here. And if you
All right, so I'm back up on the clock. I don't want to completely punt any one position, so I'm actually going to go for my tight end here. Pat Fryermuth is the top rated tight end. Darren Waller is second. I like them, but I actually like another guy more, and that's David Njoku. I know it's kind of weird, but like the dude really showed up when he came back from his injury last year. If he can build off of the second half he had last year, then I really think he's going to have a solid fantasy season. My plan is to handcuff him with another tight end that I really like. So I'm not too worried about him having his bust games or injuries if I can get another tight end I like.
definitely make sense here, and we are now into the phase of the draft where we're drafting bench guys. So, or at least for me, my team currently sits at Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson, Mark Andrew, and then my flex would be Khalil Herbert. So I'm all bench the rest of the way here. So it's just about getting that depth for me. And
Right. I am sitting at Justin Fields at quarterback. My wide receivers are Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, and DJ Moore. Running backs are Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones. Tight end David Njoku, and my flex is AJ Dillon. So I'm also just drafting bench guys at this point. But as we said earlier, Cody, we got to make sure that we are looking at depth. So just because we are drafting bench guys doesn't mean quarterback isn't still important. Tight end isn't still important because even though it's a bench guy, it sets your best lineup each week. So these very well could be our starters right now as well.
100% here too. And we also have to look past the rankings at this point too, because some of the guys on here might go a little bit higher than their rankings say because we might want that second quarterback, we might want that second tight end on guys that typically don't go here. So it's all about playing the game, playing the system a little bit here. So just to give you a little refresher on where we're at since um, our last pick of David Njoku, uh, Deshaun Watson, followed by Darren Waller, Isaiah Pacheco, Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, James Conner, and DeAndre Swift rounded out round 7. Round 8 is off to a solid start with Rashad Bateman, Jahan Dotson, Deontay Johnson, Rashad White, and Javante Williams. And Tyler again is up in 2 picks.
Sure am. Sure am.
1 pick.
All right. Let's see it. What do we got? Rashad Penny goes. Okay, so like I said pre-draft, I think that best ball leagues are a great chance for you to take some people you really like that you might not take other times, or take some guys that are just different from what you normally draft. So I'm going to go with somebody I really like. I'm going to use my homer pick on Traylon Burks. He is a number one wide receiver for the Titans right now. But in all honesty, like it's just a fun pick. It's just a guy I like a lot. He's one of my favorite players. It's best ball, so it really does not hurt.
No, I'm with you. And I'm going to take a
Does
guy,
have
and
his
it's,
big breakout season that I'm hoping for. I may have just gotten a
it's all good, man. I'm going to take the same thing that you were, and it's a guy I'm no longer rooting for because of his jersey. Uh, but I will still have him at least in one league, and I've accomplished that by drafting Aaron Rodgers as my backup quarterback. Hopefully, he rekindles some of that MVP magic, but not enough to make the playoffs. So the Packers still get a good first round pick. But at least I get Aaron Rodgers in this draft. Um, and then after that went Damian Williams and Jamal Williams, who I was debating there. I was going to think about taking on the backside if I didn't get him. But instead, I'm going to take another young guy that has some breakout potential, and that is wide receiver George Pickens. Uh, Looks like he might be the number one there with Kenny Pickett, Pickett to Pickens. You've heard that a lot. we'll see if that continues to blossom into a solid 1-2 punch.
Yeah, you took Aaron Rodgers right off my draft queue, so I'm gonna have to go with a different quarterback. I'm gonna go with a guy that just got paid and a bunch of receivers around him. We may laugh at him at times, but honestly, he's not a bad fantasy option, especially this late, and that's Danny Dimes. So he's gonna be my backup. If Justin Fields has a dud game, I think that Jones has enough talent around him that he's still gonna put up enough points for me. And it's we don't think about Danny Dimes as a mobile quarterback, but every year he's making good plays with his legs. So he adds that into his game as well.
Yeah, and then right after that was Alexander Mattinson, which that is a great name to grab late in these best ball leagues because there is a lot of buzz around Dalvin Cook potentially being a post June 1st cut or a post June 1st trade. And we've said it before, Alexander Mattinson is a great handcuff, and he might have the opportunity to be the number one guy this year in Minnesota. So definitely something to pay attention to if when you're in your best ball leagues. Those are the kind of things too you want to take flyers on your late rounds, things that people might be coming back from injuries, etc., etc. After that pick was Pat Fryermuth, the guy Tyler already talked about, James Cook, the running back from Buffalo, Antonio Gibson, who, as we were talking about this, Ron Rivera was asked about him in one of his practices, and they talked about how he's becoming really big a pass catcher, something to keep an eye on as we move closer to redrafts and PPR formats. Cortland Sutton went 98, and Marquise Brown went 99. So we are currently, and Tua went pick 100. So we're already 100 picks in just a couple minutes as Tyler prepares for his upcoming pick. What are some of the guys left on the board, and what are some of your thoughts?
So I like a lot of the wide receivers that are still available. There's still a couple tight ends that I would be willing to take as well. At the same time, I really need to look at my team and say that I have three running backs. Two of them are from the same team, and I don't have any depth behind them. So it also might not be the worst idea for me to take a running back. Some of those guys available are Elijah Mitchell, Tyler Algier, which with Bijan Robinson, Algier really falls off the board here. Dante Foreman, um, or you could even take the gamble on Zeke and hope that he gets signed by somebody and still gets a solid role. Not great options, I'm not going to lie. Um, some of the other guys I was looking at is one is Jackson Smith Najigba. He was one I was going to take if he was available here. Um, or Jordan Addison. Those are two guys I was looking at. I hate being the one that sees everybody else draft the rookies, go off, and end up getting steals of the draft. I didn't want that to happen to me. Man, I was just about to take Elijah Mitchell. He did not fall. All right.
And Addison and JSN went right before that too. So now you're really in a pick with
Well, I have another
15
pick
seconds.
coming up really soon. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pivot and I'm going to go with my backup tight end that I really like. It's another homer pick. Call it what you want, but I'm going with Chigoziem Okonkwo from Tennessee. I love this guy this year. He is basically wide receiver 2 for the Titans, and last year they knew that he was a playmaker, so they decided to give him running plays. They gave him passing plays. They gave him any kind of play they could just to get the ball in his hands. They treated him like the Titans version of Debo Samuel. He was just a rookie, and we had no quarterback because of injuries. So high upside this year.
Yes, that was who I was going to pick. So I then too went another rookie. I took my third quarterback, but it's a rookie with high upside, and that was Anthony Richardson here. So I'm set at the quarterback position with Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, and Anthony Richardson. So I can cross that position off my list. Um, Tyler definitely threw a wrench in it. I was hoping since he took Burks, he wasn't going to take Chig, and I would be able to get him as my backup tight end because I still need one of those. I do have Mark Andrews, so that is something worth noting as well. I'm back on the clock here and just looking quickly through the board. There is some guys, but it's definitely really tough to go here. Um, so I'm going to take another rookie here, the running back Miller out of for the Saints. We talked about it a lot. There's still a looming case with Alvin Kamara. So yes, I know he's technically the third running back on the depth chart as we speak right now, but Alvin Kamara, depending on what his legal situation, if he gets how that gets handled, he could be back. Jamal Williams, he was more of a touchdown guy. They really like Keandre Miller in New Orleans right now. So maybe that's just a little bit too much OTA buzz to get too excited, but I'll take a flyer on the rookie running back with my pick there. As we continue to move forward, uh, in between Richardson and Miller was Tyler Algier and Brandon Cooks, then Raheem Mostert, and then Jameson Williams went next, who's already suspended 6 games. So that's why he's probably going so late. Kirk Cousins went after that. As we round to pick 115, Jacoby Myers. So quarterbacks are getting near. How many quarterbacks do you have at this point?
Right now, I have two. So I have Daniel Jones and Justin Fields. I am eyeing a third one by the end of the draft, but they are getting thin at this point. So um, I'm looking at guys like Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Jimmy Garoppolo. It isn't a horrible option. Um, not thrilling quarterbacks left here, but definitely some guys available. So another person was stolen off my queue with Odell Beckham, number one receiver. I mean, you're talking about the Ravens offense always being dominating, and you have the number one receiver for that team. I feel like he's valuable. Dalton Schultz, there goes a favorite of Cody's. Um, my queue is getting just obliterated right now. So kind of grasping at straws for the rest of this draft here.
No, I'm with you. My queue is dwindling down. I have 2 players left in it, so I'm frantically trying to add more players to it. Just trying to find solid value here. That's like what you're trying to do at this point. So, um, yes, there's some guys that you might know the names of, like a Leonard Fournette, a Michael Thomas who just went, but like we're at the point now we kind of know what we want for them. And with these last couple picks, at least when I'm playing best ball, I like to take high upside, guys that might not break out into the second half of the season, guys that might, take a couple weeks because I already have the guys I want to roll with. So trying to figure out who those guys are might be entirely on the clock. So do you have that guy that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I have a guy that is overlooked every single year, and yet every single year he provides solid weeks, and that is Tyler Boyd, wide receiver for Cincy. I think he's a fantastic wide receiver. You often talk about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but there has been so many times where we're like, "Huh, Tyler Boyd's the one that got the touchdowns this week. Huh, Tyler Boyd's the ones that got the yards this week." He's so underrated because of the offense that he's in, but the beauty of best ball is I don't have to throw him in my lineup and gamble that this is going to be the week he's used. I can just put him on my roster, and if it is the week he's used, boom, he's in my lineup. We're good.
No, it's a solid pick there. I went Dalton Kincaid with my next pick. I was debating if I wanted the rookie or if I wanted Dawson Knox, a guy who's been there. And because I have Mark Andrews, who will probably be my tight end most weeks, I went with the high upside of the rookie. Dawson Knox might have made more sense as a solid option, and most of the time rookie tight ends are bad, but had to wait and see there. Cole Kmet went after that along with Jared Goff, which puts me right back on the clock. And I need some players. And maybe it's just me and chasing these rookies, but I'm going to do it again here. That's just kind of my thing. The draft's one of my favorite things of the offseason. I'm going to take Devin A. Chain, the rookie for the Miami Dolphins. I know Jeff Wilson is there. I know Raheem Mostert is there. But Mike McDaniel comes from the Kyle Shanahan tree of we don't actually know which running back we want to use until we start there. So knowing that he was drafted by this organization, this team, I'm going to give him a chance late in this best ball draft.
And with a guy like him still available at this point of the draft, I feel like Dawson Knox is a no brainer for me. Um, he's tight end number three. Dawson Knox is a number three tight end, very solid. So that rounds out my tight ends. I will not be drafting another one. I will say that at this point, I am looking for one more quarterback to get a third, one more running back at least, and then my last pick is going to be either running back or receiver, one of the two, whichever one I like better out of whatever's remaining. Not necessarily in that order. Uh, but yeah, that's currently what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm probably going to try to grab one more tight end and then I have 3 picks left. I'll probably go running back, wide receiver, and a tight end, kind of to balance out my depth here. I have 12 picks, so I get until it's my turn to go. So I have a little bit here to look and kind of see where we're at. Um, Still some decent names on the board, things that we have to wait and see how they play out. guys that I'm looking at there, I'm like, man, I kind of forgot about him. I kind of like him in this new team. A lot of great options, or a ton of great options because we're, 14 rounds in, so already 140 players have been taken. A lot of guys left, but there is some still intriguing options. Um, to give you a recap of kind of who's went in this range, after Tyler went Dawson Knox, it was tight end Greg Doltz for the Denver Broncos, Darnell Mooney, Deontay Foreman, Roshan Johnson, a running back out of Chicago. I really like that pick as a guy that could come in and steal some carries from Khalil Herbert. Devin Singletary, Warren, and Jeff Wilson. Those were the top 140. Then Michael Carter, Desmond Ritter. That is a pretty solid guy, guy that's going to start week one, high upside, really low floor. So definitely worth the pick in best ball. Probably won't get to many redrafts. Zach Ertz went next, followed by Jordan Love, another guy similar to Desmond Ritter. Could be really good, could be really bad. We'll have to wait and see. Rookie tight end Sam Laporta went up. Tyler, you're about 2 picks away, so I'll let you kind of talk about who's left and what you're thinking.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that because I honestly have no idea what I'm doing at this point. I know I need a running back, and there's not a lot of options out there. I definitely waited a little bit too long on running back. I could take a guy like Leonard Fournette, hope he gets signed somewhere and get some
So just
playing
take your
time.
guy,
Um,
Raheed Shaheed.
that's a wide receiver, but he is my guy. And he is actually on my queue as well. You know what? Fine. I'll go Rashid Shaheed. He's going to have like 3 big weeks this year. And other than that, he's going to be completely non existent. But I will win those 3 weeks with Rashid
Yeah, I was not expecting
Shaheed.
you to just do that. So my pick, I'm going to take Mike Gesicki, get my third tight end. New England likes to use their tight ends. So we'll see. Not a lot of great there, just trying to get some depth at the tight end position. So now I'm just looking at wide receivers and running backs. After that went Sky Moore. There's one more pick, and I am back on the clock. And I'm going to debate here between a running back and a wide receiver. Adam Thielen went right before me. I'm thinking Jarek McKinnon. We'll see. He had a really strong end of the season last year. You expect a lot out of Isaiah Pacheco, but he's currently in line to be the number two, unless you still like CEH in that role. Michael Gallup with Brandon Cooks there is kind of the forgotten guy in Dallas, but he could be pretty good. Um, Still have Chuba Hubbard in Carolina. That's an interesting name. Uh, I really wish I didn't take Mike Gesicki, but I end up going with a rookie, Quentin Johnson, because my queue did not have a guy like I thought it did. But the rookie, Quentin Johnson, he made a heck of a one-handed catch in practice in OTA. So we're going to say that is why I picked him.
Yeah. And since I don't really like any of the running back options left, even though I will take a or a running. Okay, it kind of jumped out of me in there. Even though I'm definitely taking a running back with my last pick, I will wait to see what the board has left for me since I don't really like any of them. So instead, I went with my quarterback, Kenny Pickett. He's my number 3 quarterback, and I feel like a guy with his upside this late, you really can't go wrong. I like guys like Brock Purdy. I like guys like Trey Lance, but you don't even know who's going to be the starter there. Jimmy Garoppolo, completely new system. You never know how that's going to take over. I mean, look how much we expected out of Russell Wilson last year. Plus, Jimmy Garoppolo isn't even as big of a name as a Russell Wilson stepping into a new regime. So I decided to go with a slightly safer pick, going with the Kenny Pickett, hoping for the Pickett to Pickens. So Cody and I can both do really well this year.
Was there any thought, since it was your third quarterback, to take Kyler Murray since he's way down there, but he probably will miss at least half the season?
Yeah, there's always thoughts there, but I think the Cardinals are kind of in, tank for Tua mode. They are they cut DeAndre Hopkins. It doesn't look like they're making a whole bunch of moves to play for this year. I could see them resting Kyler all season at this point. I mean, he comes back from his injuries. There's no point throwing him out on the field just to get beat up again. If they're not playing for anything, they're going to ease him back in. And he really, I don't know. I'm not expecting much out of the Cardinals this year. So I'd rather take somebody that's going to play from week one and I feel like has almost as much upside as a guy like Kyler Murray. He just doesn't do it with his legs like Kyler does. But luckily, I have other mobile quarterbacks that do.
Alrighty, yeah, that's kind of the mindset I was here. So we are about ready to kick off the final round. After Tyler went Kenny Pickett, Matt Stafford, then Kyler Murray went, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Tyler Higbee, and Rondell Moore. So we are in round 17, the final round of the draft tonight. So we are getting ready to wrap up this draft, this podcast. Cordero Patterson went off the board. And basically at this point, you're just taking a flyer on anybody. It could be a backup. It could be a guy that you just have always really liked that's never broken out. That rookie that you're super excited about that was probably in the third round. There's a lot of different options here. Uh, Tyler is up in about 6 picks. I'm up in 7 picks. What are your people are going fast? Like CJ Stroud just went. That's a great last round pick. A guy might be terrible, might not even start right away. But you if he breaks out and becomes, the next, elite rookie quarterback, you got him. I don't know. I don't recall seeing Bryce Young, but I'm sure he's already gone. Maybe he's not. I would imagine he is though, because this draft is going so fast. Yeah, I don't see him on here. So he went at some point. Sorry, I forgot to mention his name. But Tyler, with you up in 4 picks, what is your mind or any last thoughts on this draft?
Yeah, I'm about to be up in a second. I can tell you at this point, I want a running back, but I don't like any of the options. So I'm gonna go with a completely dart throw running back if he is available. I find it funny that the guy drafting 2 picks before me has the name Tyler. So
It's
that
thrown me off all draft.
kind of it definitely throws me off for sure. Um, but I'm looking at Tank Bigsby, running back for Jacksonville. Look, let's go with the rookie. Let's go with the dart throw. It's one of those you never know situations. ETN has injury history in the past. Um, there very well could be he goes down. I mean, anybody could step up. Tank could be the guy. So Tank Bigsby, running back for Jags, is my final pick of the draft as a dart throw.
Yeah, so I'm on the clock here. I got about 10 seconds left. I was thinking about Irv Smith Jr., but that would give me 4 tight ends. So I'm going to go with Wandale Robinson, the wide receiver for the New York Giants. He was a second round pick last year, dealt with some injuries, but a guy that Brian Dayball and that organization, they drafted him high. So we'll see. Maybe he gets some, playing time, get some more points. And again, it's the last round, so take a flyer here. And with the last pick went Trey Lance. So that's probably how it should have been. So real quick, I'll recap my team, then I'll let Tyler recap his team and give any thoughts. My team is Jalen Hurts at quarterback, wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, running back Tony Pollard and Brian Robinson, tight end Mark Andrews, currently sitting in my flex as running back Khalil Herbert, and then my bench is quarterback Aaron Rodgers, wide receiver George Pickens, quarterback Anthony Richardson, running back Kendre Miller, tight end Dalton Kincaid, running back Devin Achane, Mike Gesicki, Quentin Johnson, and Wandell Robinson. Tyler, how did you make out?
All right, so my team, I have quarterback Justin Fields, wide receivers Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, and DJ Moore. Running backs, I got Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones. Tight end, I got David Njoku. Currently sitting in my flex is AJ Dillon. And then for my bench, I have wide receiver Traylon Burks, quarterback Daniel Jones, tight end Chigozium Okonkwo, running back Raheem Mostert, wide receiver Tyler Boyd, tight end Dawson Knox, wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. Uh, just because of the name, honestly, at this point, is that late in the draft? Who cares? Quarterback Kenny Pickett and running back Tank Bigsby. So Cody, I think it's safe to say that we're going to post these lineups on social media and let people vote on who they thought drafted the better team. But typically, because I'm the hot takes guy and because I come at feisty at the fans, uh, normally, no matter what the poll is and no matter what I say, I will lose. And I know that. So we're going to have to wait until the end results and see who wins this best ball draft. It's going to be one of us two, easily. So got to see who wins the best ball draft to know for sure who had the better lineup.
I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing those results. Unfortunately, we have to wait until the end of the football season to find out, but we'll talk about it in a little less than a year. But we don't want to wish the football season away by any means. If you guys are bored this offseason, uh, Yahoo has free best ball leagues feel free to jump in, try it out if you've never done it. Send us the share link to the Couch GMs. We might hop in one with you guys and try it out. Hopefully, you enjoyed this exercise. You have to wait a while to see the results of this one. You only have to wait 2 weeks for the next Couch GMs podcast, where George will be back, but I will be missing. Tyler will be here. Tyler, say your famous tagline.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We aren't done
Oh,
yet.
oh, you're right. Dude, I forget this every time. Every
Dude,
time.
add a segment just for me and you forget it every time. It's just rude, is what
Every
it is.
time. I'm so sorry. Guys, before we get out of here, we got to get to Tyler's oddball fact of the week.
And this week, I got a crazy one for you. One that really is going to shock you. So you might honestly have to go onto Google and do a little research on this one just to find out the full details. But here we go. The Arizona Cardinals are older than the state of Arizona. Yes, you heard that right. So the Arizona Cardinals were originally founded in 1898, while Arizona was granted statehood in 1912. So the Arizona Cardinals are older than Arizona. It's nuts. It's crazy.
It is wild when you think of it that way. I'm pretty sure they started, don't quote me on this. This is not my oddball fact. Pretty sure they started in Chicago and moved to Arizona, which is why you get that conundrum. But definitely, that is a pool. Definitely, we're just going to post that one out. That one is well enough. So post it out. Tyler's oddball fact of the week. The Arizona Cardinals are older. That's crazy. Hard to believe. And it's also hard to consider, like, when you think about like the NFL, you don't really think about the Cardinals as like one of the founder teams. Like, you're just like, oh yeah, like, nope, they've been around forever, but we don't think of them that way. They're not the Packers, the Bears, those historic teams that have been around since the beginning. Nope, you have the Cardinals as well, who have been around longer than the state that they reside in. All right.
It's crazy.
Now that we got your fact out of the way, which again, I apologize for almost skipping 2 episodes in a row. Now give us your staple tagline.
All right, guys, this podcast is so much more fun for us and more fun for you when you get involved. So get involved.
You heard Tyler, so that means you have to do it. As always, thanks for checking out another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. Make sure you follow us at the Couch GMs on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, social, TikTok. We're everywhere you can find social media. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Boom.
Nice.
Double nice. 160.